Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast, where real students are doing real deals in the world of multifamily real estate. I'm Vince Gethings, the owner of the Wheelwell Profits Academy. Listen in as we dive into the journeys of driven individuals who are turning their dreams into reality. These people are just like you, taking action and making things happen. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and if you're ready to take action, check us out at wheelwellprofits.com to learn more about our incredible community. Let's get started.
This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of make it happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I'm joined by my co-host, my brosif, Josh Ruzin. Josh, how you doing today, Josh?
Gino, doing well. Super excited. Yesterday, we launched our Orlando Money Mixer, where we're going to be touring 2 properties, seeing the systems and tools in action, face-to-face networking with students, incredibly invaluable experience, that hands-on in-the-field experience. And then even more exciting is we're going to have our Petra coaches speaking after at the event. It's going to be a blast. Very excited. For those of you who don't know what Petra is, we follow the book Scaling Up. So the Rockefeller habits in our business. And like we are coaches, we invest in coaching. So to have us be the best versions we can be and share that with others. Gino, what are you excited about?
Well, I am excited about today's guest for one reason, and I think one reason only. She began the journey back in 2017 at our very first Multifamily Mastery from New Jersey coming down to Knoxville, Tennessee. That was a big journey. I think that was a huge step in her investing career. So Josh, please introduce our guest today.
Today's guest, Michele Brophy. A little bit about her. So she's a former graphic designer and certified teacher, also a mother of 2. She began really helping her husband with single-family rentals in 2009. In 2016, she got serious about the business and went full-time. And since then, 2017, attended the first Jake and Gino event where she decided to scale up into commercial. And now she currently owns 64 units that they self-manage. So welcome to the show, Michele. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. This is, like I was saying earlier, getting uncomfortable in 2020. So this is, may as well just keep it going. So I'm glad to be here.
Love it. All right. So let's hear the story here. 2009 to 2016, that's 7 years. How did you first get into real estate? Why did you decide to go full time? Let's talk a little bit about that story.
So never really was on my radar. I enjoyed it. I guess in the DIY, it was fun to see. My husband was flipping houses at the time when we were dating, and you see the befores and the afters. It was fun. We'd go to open houses. I'd help him kind of find places, but I wasn't necessarily in real estate. Fast forward, we were married 2010. We wanted to move into a larger home. We had babies on the way, and we were underwater. We bought our condo in 2007. Everyone knows 2008. So we bought it not a good time. And 2010, we were ready to sell, really couldn't. We were fortunate enough where we were able to keep it and became rental. It was our tax attorney's idea when Sean already had a duplex that he had for a few years. So we're like, okay, well, we have, 1 unit. What's one more? Not a big deal. Again, still not really thinking of it as a vehicle for passive income or growth. Lost my train of thought. So that kind of continued on for a few years. 2015, we kind of set a goal. We're like, let's get another rental. Let's start looking around. We had our $300 a door. That kind of had our numbers, what we were looking for. We only bought 1 more rental in 2015. At the time, I was still looking for a full-time teaching job, and just to no avail. I was helping out with the rentals, kind of putting some systems into place. Sean was still collecting door to door sometimes, like a 80-year-old man. But, so I started helping part-time in the office. Mm-hmm. Fast forward, kind of an ultimatum. He's like, listen, this isn't working. We were really trying to figure out, what are we doing here? The kids are in daycare full-time. I'm looking for, I'm working part-time virtually just to pay for daycare. So if I didn't have anything by the end of the summer, we're like, that's it. So 2016, we set some goals to double. We fell short by 1. So we went from 4 units. We had 3 properties, a duplex and 3 units, and we went up to 7 properties. We had 8 units. So we made it. I had a screening process over the phone. I would set up showings. I had looked into online payments. I kind of started like, okay, how are we going to scale this? And then 2017, with me full-time in the office, we got up to 17 properties. And in the mix there, we had 2, I say quick flips, called them Windex and flips, because we really didn't rehab them. We found a good enough property. We were able to turn them over to first-time home buyers, kind of thing like that. One was in Philly, and which I wanted to hold. And and one was here in Burlington County. But so, 17 units plus 2, so it's 19 properties we were dealing with just in 2017.
So what made you want to come to the 2017 Multifamily Mastery, the live event? I mean, we were small back then. What I guess pulled you to want to come and learn about multifamily?
Sitting right here, side by side, we were kind of going through again, trying to figure out, like, all right, is this really scalable? We're chipping away property at a time, maybe a duplex. I'd found a really good triplex. Then we're dealing with all the different taxes, all the different insurance. We're like, okay, how are we going to scale this?
Mm-hmm.
And being that we live in New Jersey, we were starting to get priced out. Taxes are high. Just numbers in general was just going to get a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Sean said, we both agreed. We were not that we were outgrowing our local RIA, but we were entertaining scaling. Scaling is, maybe commercial. And we were thinking probably smaller commercial, like, oh, we'll buy like a small garden style or something that's maybe 8 units, like nothing really big. And Sean tasked me, he's like, find something out there. Let's go for some education. Let's figure out like let's start to find a different community. We love our local RIA, but a lot of them are single family, small multi, in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, a Google search. And I came across somehow, I honestly don't even remember how, had come across, started looking into wheelbarrow profits, really dug in a little bit. I was like, well, why don't we go to this? I'm like, it's, worst case, we get to go to Knoxville. Never been there before. So, because we didn't know much about it. We never really looked at multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew there was something else out there. We knew we wanted to scale.
And what did you learn at that first event? I mean, what were the big takeaways that, that must have been like a whole paradigm shift for you, being in, I remember it so well.
At the back row.
Yeah, I've had 175 people that first event. All the chairs were next to each other. We really brought a tremendous amount of value because there was cost segregation there. There was property management.
So much information.
It was actually too much, to be honest with you. It was probably overwhelming for people, but we really didn't know what we were doing either. It's commit and figure it out, just like your journey was, like start scaling up. And so what were the big takeaways from that first event that you went to?
So we purely went there we're just going to learn, kind of like dip our toe. We weren't there trying to negotiate deals. We were there, let's see what this world is all about, this multifamily. Never once thinking we would invest out of state. That was like, oh, that's crazy how they do it. Like, that's wild. And now we do. But so that first, like, just blew our mind, just not even thinking about leaving our backyard. But I will say, which I think is kind of a funny story, the very first speaker at the very first Jake and Gino event flipped a switch. Sean leaned in. It was Mike Conlon.
Yes, I remember that you're saying that now. That's right.
Yes, it was Mike Conlon. And I'm going to probably mess up Affordable Housing Communities, his company, but he has 1,000 units, 500.
Thousands.
1,000 units.
Yes.
And he just really dug in and explained manufactured housing, the mobile home communities as an investment, and just the community itself. And it kind of spoke to us a little bit. We were like, that'd be really cool to literally build a neighborhood. Like, you're not just owning like a property, you're cultivating a neighborhood and some culture there. And we've always prided ourselves here in New Jersey on like not falling into the status quo of a landlord. We take the resident's point of view. Full disclosure, we've been 100% occupied for over 2 years. No turnover. Like I have one troublemaker, but everyone else has been here probably 4+ years. I mean, outside of the ones that I just recently, in 2017. So yeah, 3, we've had almost all of the original residents.
So you went there thinking multifamily, but then ultimately he spoke, Mike Conlon, he was really good. And He's in the mobile home park space. So two things. So the first thing, everybody, what you don't know, you don't know. Investing out of state, most people can't even fathom that, right? And now you're doing it. And number two, going in there looking for multifamily and then flipping the switch and saying mobile home parks. That's huge. What else do you remember taking anything away? Because I know you've been to the second one and the third one.
We've been all of them.
Yeah, there's definitely been a progression. I think more as we've been growing and scaling our business, we've been adding business systems into it and talking about culture and people into the.
Oh yeah, mindset was a real big thing this year. I had my girls with me this year, as you guys saw, but so that was kind of interesting because we are kind of virtually like a mom and pop right now. But going back to the first one, so yes, it was interesting seeing how it changed our mind. We're not buying property, we were buying businesses. So that was definitely a mind shift with single family homes. You are the business. Each unit can be a little different in its own right. But we did, that was our big takeaway, I think, is like, wow, these, like, you're buying businesses. There's laundry, utility, all these different things that go into it that we just scratched the surface, but at least we knew of them. We knew that that's what entailed. But I will say, we came back and Sean was like really hung up on the mobile homes. I'm like, all right, go for it. You know, I would start to kind of just look around. We just start looking at different properties, started like researching different market areas. What year was that? 2017, right? So he read the book Park Place, which I don't know why it took me so long. I just recently read it a few months ago. If you're looking into mobile homes as an investment, Park Place, now whatever, Tony Ferris, really good book. He read that, so I laughed. I said, we're here because of Mike Conlon in a book. But we started looking at, we called some brokers and action. You guys have been saying that, education plus action. We're like, we're going to come out and meet you. And I don't think anyone believed us. We do what we say we're going to do. And we were really just, again, we flew out to Indiana purely for education. Like, let's learn what this is about. And the broker was just totally flabbergasted. He's like, you're in front of me. You're sitting here having a coffee. I'm like, well, we said we'd be here. So we flew out and just fast forward a little bit. We ended up leaving that first multifamily and buying our first mobile home of June. It was May 31st, 2018.
So that's 5 months. There's a lot of action there. So how else did the community help you out? I mean, with that first deal, was it the accountability piece? Was it the education piece?
The Facebook group has been huge just for staying connected. We did start doing a small mastermind group with a handful of us that are, I guess, originals. So it just, I guess they hold us accountable. You know, we kind of spitball some things off of them when we weren't sure. Just really reaching out. We just coming, I guess, from a point of, we learned, you know, people are willing to share, especially seeing that, like you said, it was a smaller group there. We made a lot of good connections. I think because it was a smaller venue at that time, it was easier to kind of cultivate those relationships and have that comfort level of reaching out. Like I don't think it was an email or a Facebook message, Mike Conlon. I don't know this guy. I'm like, well, I can find him. And I just kind of sent him a message asking him a little bit of advice. And then Sean took over. They've since then talked a couple different times on like some things when we were underwriting, just looking at different stuff, and the broker relationships. We really just, we leaned on who we found at the industry, which largely came from the multifamily event because they were in that space. And we just kind of went from there.
So what would you say to people trying to get into real estate, multifamily, mobile home parks? You've got a couple really good recommendations. I want to really go over them real quick. That education times action equals results means a lot. I think the ability to have an open mind and to get out of your comfort zone, because flying down to Knoxville and not knowing what you're getting yourself into is really, really key. Getting in there, the broker relationships, doing what you say and say what you do is, I think it's just key in life. That's one of the life lessons that we should teach our children. That goes without saying. Most people don't do that. That's why they don't find deals. What else would you say to people if they're considering they're on the fence? Joining a community obviously is really important, but what other things did you think led to your success? Because 64 units is a lot. And I know that 64 is going to double in the next 12 to 18 months. You're going to have over 100.
Yeah, we're not looking at anything less than 50 now. So.
Yeah, see that? So Josh, she's a little snob there, right? Nothing less than 50. You know what I'm saying?
And that comes down to my systems, actually. There's a reason. one thing that was said to us, actually Jake said it to us, I think the following year. Like we jumped in, we did it, and we thought big, but our big wasn't big enough, and we bought too small. So we have a 21 unit park, which is kind of a fixer upper. It's our training wheels. And just a sidebar on the numbers, we got that cash for $85,000, 21 lots in Muncie, Indiana, because it was like the redheaded stepchild of a portfolio. And we got creative. We're like, well, we'll take it, because they couldn't sell the rest of the units. There was 2 other properties that were like 120, 105, something like in that area, over 100 units. And we're like, well, we'll take the little guy. And they kind of put us in on a settlement. So, and I told you, I was like, just throw a number out there. And we were shocked they took it. So, but there's like 6 residents living there. That's kind of our training wheels. We're learning the ropes in that park, which is good. But I guess if you want to get in, just be humble. I mean, ask questions. There's so many people. If you're coming from the right place, people want to share. They do, like and we've learned that because we've talked to other people and how they've approached brokers. We're like, well, you got to come from the right place and be truly, like, we never really wanted anything outside of just learning an industry, whether it be from the Jake and Gino event, flying out to Indiana to meet the broker. Like, we weren't there trying to immediately negotiate and jump on and grab something. We were truly just coming from a place of, I'm trying to gather information so that we can figure out what's best for us. Just ask questions. I mean, I guess that's the teacher in me too. Like, I'm an academic, like, ask questions. I seek out information all the time. But really it's that and the relationships. I mean, join the communities. I just recently been listening, Faircloth, we have the Invest Her podcast. I started going to her, and this was like a 2-hour drive for me. I drove North Jersey, right outside New York, just to go to a meetup. So I've been really trying to get out there and expand who I'm getting my information from. And that's, it's investors. So it's female investors. So that was kind of different for me, because I've definitely felt more of I'm helping out, kind of. And I just this past year really realized how much I'm pretty good at it as far as managing these properties and taking it at my own role to step up and get my own information and my own education. But just find the communities that fit you. Not everyone fits you. We've gone to some things where, just wasn't a right fit. You find somewhere else. And I know I'm kind of talking, so I wrote this down too, because I was trying to think, but yeah, you just ask questions and seek out the community.
Yeah, Michelle, here's a good question for you. So you mentioned before you went to that first live event, you said you had a lot of limiting beliefs, right? We can't scale up, we can't invest out of our own backyard. What triggered that transformation or that switch to go from we can't to we can to implementing? Because that's huge. And that's where most people can't get out of their own way, to go to 0 to 1. Yeah.
So I would say that Sean and I are yin and yang. So it's really good. So we implemented we have a pro coach now too, that we just started working with in the fall. And we've realized that Sean is the aim, still looking at it. We're trying to figure out if we should do it. And I'm like the aim, fire, let's go, let's keep going. So I absolutely research things and I look into things, and I'm a little bit hesitant, but I've always been welcome to change. And as soon as I went to that event and I was like, they're doing it. We went out to dinner with someone that lived in New York, and she had a couple of units in Texas. I'm like, okay, sold. I'm like, you're doing it and you have a full-time job. Like, that's all I need. I just need to see that it could happen. And then I had there was no stopping. I was like, we can do it. I'm like,
it sounds like Josh's relationship with me. Josh likes to aim. He's aiming, and I'm like, just fire that email off, bro. Just post that thing. Don't worry about it. If something happens, we just fix it. We course correct. It's really important that you mentioned that. There's things I want everyone to write this down, because it's really important. Number one, Michelle talked about clarity. I think she had clarity in her decision going down there, having clarity. Number two, Michelle talked about relationships. Relationships are key in this business because it's a team sport. Relationships with your broker, relationships with a partner, with an investor, with a banker. Number three, the network is really, really huge when you're getting into any endeavor, whether you're in multifamily, mobile home parks, any type of real estate. And number four, she said, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and get out there and get out of your comfort zone. So those four, I think, have really shifted everything for them. And just getting out there and going to these different events, driving 2 hours to a meetup, you never know who you're going to meet there. You never know how you're going to add value. And also coming from a place of value. I think ultimately high level people are usually portrayed as being greedy, as always wanting something, but they're usually the ones that can give back because they can be on a call with you for an hour and not expect anything because they don't need anything from you. So the higher level you become, the more you're willing to share, because ultimately, as you get older and you age and you pass away, you want to be remembered for something great, for helping others. It's not just about making money. And I think people who have made a ton of money start to realize that it's not really about that. It's about having the go-giver, I guess, concept of just giving back. I mean, Michelle, do you want to add anything that I said?
I've read that book actually, and I've read The Go-Giver Influencer. So I do like those books. Yeah, I mean, that you just gotta, I don't know, you just gotta go for it sometimes. And I guess, the whole adage, fail forward. If you're going to fail, just learn from it and keep moving. I mean, you don't want to fail. You got to be cautious, especially when you're getting into some of these big deals with multifamily. But, and that's where, like I said, Sean and I kind of yin and yang each other out. But the systems, I realized when we grew, I did get a little clumsy. So, like E-Myth, I read the E-Myth, Real Estate Investor, and things like that. I'm just trying to refresh, like, okay, I got to reorganize myself and make sure your systems are in place so that when you do take that jump, it's an easier transition. You're still going to fumble. I mean, I do it daily. But I've learned that one of my strengths, I guess, it's really shining through, is the quick way to problem solve and move forward. I just did it yesterday in our meeting. Like, we have a home, it's not set, and mobile home investing is a completely different business. I will say that you're not just owning like the staff in place and having your renters. There's two different, you could have homeowners, you could have people that are leasing with the option to purchase, you could have just straight renters. I mean, there's so many different facets that we're kind of learning that, like, there's different leases. It's not just your one lease and your one building, how that goes.
There's so many ways to monetize that business. I think that's the cool thing about it. But I think there's one thing that you said that's really important, is that you don't have to start with 100 unit. You can start small, and then you fail forward. And these smaller properties, as you fail, they're not these big colossal mistakes, and you can scale. I think people get caught up in this internet world that we're living in, Instagram, and seeing everyone else is closing 300 units here and 200 units there. That's not reality for a lot of people. They just maybe have a little piece of a deal. It's saying I just closed 300 units. There's nothing wrong with we started with our 25 unit property, and from there we scaled up. And don't just scale up and grow just for the sake of it. Know why you're doing it. That's really important. And I think the other thing that entrepreneurs is we all make mistakes is we don't know when to hire. When you're thinking about hiring or adding another individual on, whether it's a VA, an assistant, that's when you know that you're ready. When you're considering and contemplating it, just rip off the Band-Aid, and that will be the end-all, cure-all for you. You need to do that, those two things. So don't be afraid to start small and scale up responsibly and treat it as a business. And if you can do that, I think it's going to be really, really, really powerful. What do you think, Josh?
Love it. I think that's a very big thing there. One takeaway too I noticed is you're like, hey, I was starting to outgrow my local RIA. So when you surround yourself, like you said, Michelle, with people that have the results that you want, that are doing what you're looking to do, all of a sudden you can realize I can do it. It's almost like the Bannister effect. For those of you who don't know, Roger Bannister is the first guy to run under a 4-minute mile. Before then, they didn't think it was physically possible. And as soon as he did it, a ton of people started doing it, right? So just because someone else has done it means you can do it as well. They're human, you're human, I'm human. It's just having the right knowledge, taking the right actions, and having the right network. Don't overcomplicate it.
I agree. Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsor.
Hey, Gino, the two most common questions I've been asked have been, how do I get into real estate and do my first deal? The other question has been, how do I scale my real estate portfolio? Get those all the time. We have great news for you. Gino, tell them about it.
We can help you answer both of those questions. We have a 2-day investor training coming up in Pittsburgh on March 28th and the 29th, where attendees can learn our 3-step proprietary framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Our 3-step framework has helped hundreds of real estate entrepreneurs successfully get started in real estate with no experience, and it has also helped experienced real estate entrepreneurs take it to the next level.
If you want more information on this event or to sign up, visit www.jgino.com. jakeandgino.com/WBPL.
Okay, so Michele, some quick, short answer questions for you. What is your best habit for success and why?
So this might sound like an oxymoron, but social media, I know it's necessarily sometimes determined as a bad habit, and we tell our kids to, cool it, but
Let's dive into that. So elaborate.
So, what can be considered as a bad habit has become one of my best attributes to the business. So, Sean was never really into it. That's how I've kind of held on. Like I said, the Facebook, that was probably where I started. The Facebook Wheelbarrow Profits group, just kind of just feeding through, reading through different conversations, trying to add in. I'm more of a voyeur, just absorbing information. And then I really started to jump in, especially when I knew we were going to be doing these deals, asking questions for different management things, utility questions, stuff like that. And then I started seeking out I use social media more now for the business than just finding out someone's birthday and posting a meme. So it's definitely become a vehicle for me to get out there, especially if you're investing out of your state or out of your backyard. You're not going to see these people all the time, but it's a really easy way to just stay. It's almost like little mini masterminds. So I have a lot of groups, there's a mobile home park owners forum, lots of really good information. There's a lot of newbie owners that have the same maybe questions that I might have, and then some other people that are been in the business. So that's a really good one. The Jake and Gino one's great, especially because you can recap some of this stuff and get some of the information from some of the events. Instagram, all that stuff is just real quick. I've been starting to post when we have things for sale, just trying to hit all the different things. Facebook Marketplace, all the haven't really gotten into Twitter, but all the other stuff I joke around. Sean's like, "Oh, you're always on your phone," and he realized I wasn't sitting there LOLing with my friends. I was like, "Oh no, there's an event coming up," and I'm finding out all this information. That's how I found the investor. I was started listening to the podcast and went up to that event, and I'm like, "Oh, there's something else coming up," and
that's
I
amazing.
realized it was actually what I was doing for work. It was part of my day. It just happened to look down. So I am cognizant when I'm doing it. I try not to I have 2 young daughters, so I don't want to be hold on, mom's gotta, post this. But and then it's just, so that's a really huge one. And I think my problem solving, my ability to just really, maybe that's the mom brain in me. There's an issue, you gotta just nip it in the butt and kind of move on. I've been really good with it lately. Just really trying to, the joke in the house is Sean's calling me Tony Robbins lately, because I've just really been okay, how do we take this and let's move on. Easy. We'll start. We had an issue with work orders not getting through an email. They were going to a spam for one of our contractors. I was like, okay, follow it up with a text. Text her as soon as you send it off and make sure she got it. If she didn't get it, then to resend it or, send it to a different way. It's little things like that. I'm realizing that I'm getting quicker with how to manage the business. And I just practice that just positive kind of, how do we spin it?
Yeah, I like that. So 2 things. Social media, I firmly believe it's like fire, right? Fire can burn your house down and it can do damage. At the same time, fire can also do good, right? It can keep you warm and cook your food. So it all depends how you use it. It's simply a tool. So love that.
I like that. That's good.
And then also your mindset. So I truly believe our mindset is the lens in which we view the world through, right? It's like traffic, for example, shouldn't make you angry. It's our human reaction to it. So when you hit a problem, if you're looking for solutions, the brain's a powerful computer. It's going to go out there and find them. So I attribute that to your mindset. So love that as well. What about your favorite book you've ever read and why?
I was thinking about this. So I will say, I already said that I'm currently reading Compound Effect, which I am liking. I've been, I think, really heavy on the mindset stuff, not so much business specific, but just how to take these things and move forward. Business book for our industry, though, I think Park Place has been really good for me. But I think it started with, I read The Go-Giver over a year ago, and it reminded me of how we started. We always wanted to be in a good place, resident point of view. We didn't want to be that slumlord kind of coming in just for money. But The Go-Giver I like, and Park Place for industry, I guess, for right now.
Like that, definitely very important to keep it up on the books. All right. So there was a lot of golden nuggets on this one. Gino, you already summed a few up, but I'll add some to it. I really think, a big takeaway here is what you focus on expands. So when Michele decided to go full-time in the business, that's when her portfolio really started doubling. So where you put your energy, you're going to get the results. So I really got to hammer that one home. Gino, you already summed most of them up, but what other ones do you have to add to this?
I like what you just said about where you focus your energy. That's great. I think the next thing is, if you're looking around and other people are doing it and you're saying you can't do that, maybe it's your limiting belief. I never thought I could invest outside my backyard until I went and got coached. I did it, and then I did it again, and now we're continuing to do it. So that's really important. I think team is really, truly important. And I think scaling up responsibly and not stopping because you made a mistake, figuring out what the mistake is, course correcting, and continuing to do it, and having the reason why you're doing it, not just scaling up just to scale up. I think it's important. And don't be afraid to try a different niche. I think Sean and Michele, they came down to do multifamily and they fell in love with mobile home parks. There's nothing wrong with it. I think that's great. Being able to say, I made a mistake, I don't want to do this, I want to do that, I think it's truly important. So Josh, what else you got? I think that's really important. Just Michele, how can the listeners get a hold of you?
Well, like I said, I'm on Facebook, Michele Brophy, 1L, Michele. I actually, terrible. I don't remember my Instagram. It's like _ Michele Brophy _ but I come up, and Michele, Michele @redmaygroup.com is my email. Like I said, it's Red May Property Group. So,
awesome. Well, guys, I want to
Wheelbarrow Profits. I know a lot of people probably on here, so yes. I'm around.
Nice. Love it. Well, Michele, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing your Movers and Shakers story. Now, if you want to be the next Movers and Shakers guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. And if you like this show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a Movers and Shakers week. See you, everybody.
Thanks everybody.